Week 7 Viva. How did the fall of Rome shape the rise of a distinctively medieval Christianity? Many people see the fall of Rome as a great catastrophe, which ended classical culture and led to the Dark Ages. However, it was also the beginning of a new world, with Christianity as the dominant force. The collapse of the Roman Empire transformed the Church's theology and structure under Saint Augustine's leadership. The Church emerged as a uniquely empowered entity, capable of shepherding Europe through the medieval era. First, it shaped Augustinian theology, which would play an important role in shaping the medieval church. Secondly, it forced the church to take on aspects of the rule of the state. And thirdly, it transformed the traditions of monasticism and its role in society. My first point is that the fall of the Roman Empire shaped Augustinian theology that would play an important role in shaping the medieval church. Saint Augustine lived his life as a Christian during the last years of the Western Roman Empire. Its crumbling had a huge impact on his theology and the subsequent theology of the church. Seeing that the Roman government was failing, Augustine had his own idea about the nature of government, which he wrote about in his book, The City of God. Augustine concludes that secular government is absurd because every government or community is a spin-off or imitation of the community of God. In his writing, Augustine illustrates his idea with a story, which may or may not be true. Once Alexander the Great captured a pirate, intending to kill him. Alexander asked the pirate what would he say to defend his misdeeds of killing and stealing. To the king's surprise, the pirate replied that there was actually not much difference between the two of them. Alexander still pillaged and stole, but just on a larger scale. It was Augustine's belief that because humanity is initially sinful, governments must be fundamentally evil. The only good ruler is Christ, and the best we can do is live in subjection to his church. As the Roman Empire fell, the church began to take on the role of the government in society. The destruction of the Roman Empire shaped Augustine theology to have three fundamental units. First, a pessimistic anthropology. Secondly, predestination. And thirdly, original sin. Paul Johnson says, quote, "The profound pessimism which Christians drew from Augustine's writings itself seemed to mirror the uncertainties of life as they knew it," unquote. My second point is that the empire's collapse forced the church to take on aspects of the role of the states. Ambrose of Milan and Saint Augustine played large roles in creating the imperial nature of the church and moving the church to the center of society. According to Paul Johnson, quote, "Ambrose was instrumental in hastening the process which aligned imperial authority completely behind the Orthodox Catholic Church," unquote. Ambrose continued the bending of church practices in traditional culture that was begun by Constantine. Ambrose believed that the church would be universal and immune to political and societal change. Augustine, in turn, carried on many of Ambrose's beliefs. This is not surprising, because Ambrose was his mentor and played a principal role in his conversion. Ambrose himself even baptized Augustine in what would have been quite an extreme ceremony. Ambrose would have led the naked Augustine into a dark pool in the church's basement, or the cathedral's basement. He would have baptized him in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Then he would have handed him a candle and dressed him in a white robe. In Milan, Augustine absorbed this new sense of universality in the church and brought these ideas with him when he opposed Donatism in Africa. Augustine changed the way the church approached such heretics. Instead of expelling heretics from the church, they began to persecute them and force them to conform to orthodoxy or be destroyed. Ambrose constructed canon law as the legal system of the church by which heretics would be punished. And the activities of church courts expanded. Ambrose attempted in a way to remake Rome with the church at its center, and Ambrose constructed the first cathedral. Such structures became the new Roman Forum. Cathedrals became centers for learning, governmental processes, marketplaces, and hospitals. In short, the new hub of civilization. My third point is that the fall of the Roman Empire in the West led to a transformation of the traditions of monasticism and its role in society. Western monasticism was fundamentally transformed by the fall of Rome, becoming more than a religious practice and instead functioned as a central hub of learning and cultural preservation. Paul Johnson says, quote, "In passing northwards through Gaul, monasticism acquired, in the course of the 5th century, a central purpose," unquote. In the West, under Saint Benedict, the structure of monasticism changed in a way that it never would in the East. Saint Benedict lived in Rome, but he fled because of the unending invasions. Benedict fled, and Benedict felt called to live as a monk, so he lived as a hermit in the cave. In early monasticism, most monks lived in solitude. However, this didn't go so well for Benedict because he had attracted so many followers. He decided to create 13 monasteries that he could preside over for his fellow monks to live in. Later, he was asked to be the abbot of the Abbey Monte Cassino. Benedict wrote his rule, adding that his rule taught how to live a communal life of prayer and work, and established a monastic order. Monks began to perform services for their communities, not least of which was their practice of inscribing books, thus preserving knowledge through the centuries. In conclusion, many people see the fall of Rome only as a great catastrophe. However, the collapse of the Roman Empire transformed the Church's theology and structure under St. Augustine's leadership. The Church emerged as a uniquely empowered entity, capable of shepherding Europe through the medieval era. First, it shaped Augustine theology. Secondly, it forced the Church to take on aspects of the role of the state. And thirdly, it led to a transformation of the traditions of monasticism and its role in society. The end. Thank you.